welcome in Dean Prilladog Carter. That is who you are, yes?
Yes, that is me. Hello, thanks for having me.
Oh, very happy to have you. You are the project lead of Fallout London, correct?
Right. Yes, that's correct. We prefer to call ourselves Team Folon now because that's what we're doing for our future endeavors. But yes, I have been operating as the project lead during Fallout London's development. That's right.
Amazing. So what is Fallout London, in your own words?
Okay, so Fallout London is a DLC-sized mod, which many people will say it's probably like its own game at this point.
It is.
But it's basically a game on top of a game. So we have changed Fallout 4, which was made by Bethesda, into a game that's based in London. Got about the same level of quests, got about the same sort of size map. Actually, I think ours is slightly larger. And yeah, it's just a community-driven project that we started back in 2019. And yeah, it just recently released. And we are getting lots of feedback from people. And they're saying that it should be one of the series. So
amazing. And I wholeheartedly agree. Personally, if Bethesda ever does finally get back to us and adopts it into the canon, that would be great. That would be really nice.
That would be amazing. If I'm honest, I'm perfectly honest, I would actually just like to have a level of acknowledgement, which would be very nice. It's not unheard of in the industry. It's not an expectation that studios should reach out to their fans. But yeah, it would be nice at this stage, I guess.
I mean, as you say, it's not an expectation, but it would be a nice cherry on top, not just for Team Folon and all the hundreds of volunteers, but for Bethesda as well, because as hopefully we're going to unpack through this little conversation of ours, is how much modding and user-generated content and community lends to the longevity of studios and their titles. Like Fallout 4 is what, 9-10 years old now?
So Fallout 4, I think it came out in 2015, and yeah, they haven't really done any large amounts of improvements. Now, you could argue that from the business standpoint, they released the next gen update, but that didn't go down so well. So in terms of what's been keeping it alive this whole time has been the community, and I think that community content is definitely the way forward for a lot of these industries, and it is definitely what keeps these games alive, because they wouldn't even attempt a next-gen update if communities and fans weren't making things for that past decade. Like why would you? At this point, you would put all of your focus into a new game. It's definitely the community and the mods that have kept that game alive, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree more. So Fallout London is a mod. It is a total conversion mod. But for the uninitiated, this is a question I remember you having to answer for the BBC. What is a mod?
So a mod basically stands for modification. So it doesn't matter if it's something as small as wanting to change an outfit's color, to adding in maybe a new weapon, to maybe a new vehicle, or doing what we did, which is took it to the nth degree, where we have basically turned the entirety of downtown Boston, which is what Fallout 4 is, we've basically turned it into London. So we've obviously changed many weapons, many cars, many outfits. So it doesn't matter how small it is, if you ever edit something from the base game and then change it, you have modified it. So that, in a nutshell, is what a mod is. So it's from the smallest thing to the largest thing, which is what we've done.
Brilliant. A very succinct answer. I can tell you've had to rehearse that many times for journalists that have no idea what on earth they're talking about.
I mean, that's one of the great things, I think, about user-generated content in general, is because it opens up a lot of people that maybe are a bit more mainstream, and they will just sit down and just play whatever they're given, and they don't realize maybe the world, because it is a world of modding, that they can go, oh wow, I don't have to play as Nate in Fallout 4's case. I can play as a green alien. Wow, that maybe makes them really enjoy that game a lot more. And that is the advantages of mods. And that goes for anything across the spectrum. If you want to change that car and put your favorite car in, and you can, and that makes your game better, that's the wonder of mod. And I feel that one of the best things that Fallout London has done is basically been thrust into the media and gone, this is what a mod is, you should probably learn what mods are. And we've been contacted by so many mainstream gamers who didn't even know what a mod was, and they're like, wow, this has really changed everything. I can do all this cool stuff. Amazing. And that means a lot to me as someone that's always modded and always been interested in video games. So to bring newer people into the scene is great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with projects like this and with UGC and modding just as an entire subsect of gaming, it really is about sort of evening the playing field of players and creators. It's that democratizing of game design and the ways that we engage with stories and games as a medium, saying, this is the vision that I have for this game, I can make it happen. And I think that that is so sick. That is what I love to see, and that's what really drew me to modding as well. Like, I didn't get into making mods until very late, but I've been voicing mods for a while. And that...
Really? Are you a voice actor?
Oh, am I a voice actor? Yeah, I didn't introduce myself at the start, but I'm... I meant to do that. I'm Liz. I'm Glowmade's community manager. Glowmade is a game studio based in Guildford, and we focus on community-driven games that have UGC and create modes built into them rather than just having them as a bonus like games like Bethesda. And I also was a voice actress for Fallout London. I voiced everyone, basically.
Yeah, I think one of the best comments that we've had is that like there are definitely parts in the quest lines where you will be talking to yourself. And do you know what, honestly, and I mean this, that this is where like the level of modding, because I think many people think modding and user generated content is very much sort of like a novice amateur thing. And yes, it basically is. But when you start working with people who've been doing this for such a long time, it's almost like you become a professional amateur in a way, where like you've been modding for like 10 plus years. You're going to be good at your craft. And we've been working with obviously yourselves who's a bit more of a professional, and we've been working with people who are brand new to voice acting. And when you have scenes where like yourself, you're literally playing one character talking to another character you're playing and you sound completely different, that's fantastic. The accessibility to people of that talent in the modding scene is not really something you come across, because normally everyone is behind a level of like professional paywall, or they have an agent and stuff like that. Whereas yeah, in modding scene, a lot of it's volunteer, and you will have these like diamonds in the rough. So yeah, definitely you are a little diamond in the rough when you played Rachel and Eve and you're talking to each other. It's great, because you wouldn't know it's you in both situations.
Stop it, you little flirt. Yeah, no, it was a brilliant experience, and yeah, I'm very happy to have gotten involved. I remember being absolutely rabid for Dansky to keep giving me more and more roles. I was like, give me more now! Give me more stuff to do!
When we kept giving you them.
No, not at all. He eventually refused to give me more. I remember Bedivere needed to be filled in after the VA dropped out, and I was like, give it to me. I can do any accent. Let me do it. And he was like, no, you've done enough. And I'm like, shut the fuck up, Daniel!
Yeah, that's one of the things with, I guess, modding in general, and I guess games in general is, and I'm sure that you might feel this as well, is that it is definitely obviously a male-dominated sector.
Absolutely.
And
I
especially
know.
when it came down to us trying to get things like voice actors and stuff. Like I think in the end we got just under 1,000 applicants for voices. I mean, we were thinking we were going to get like a couple of hundred, but yeah, the fact we had that many was like, whoa. And amongst them, I would definitely say 90% were men. So people like you that were just like, give us more. Like, it was a godsend, it really was.
It really shows how much the community wants to be involved in things that they care about. And that sort of should put the onus on developers and studios to, A, support mods and user-generated content in order to allow that creativity and want to contribute to the general atmosphere, but also just make games that are conducive to wanting to get involved, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely think the one thing I would say that we've done quite well, and this honestly wasn't our intention. Our intention was just to create a fun experience for the community, but we've been seeing a lot of YouTubers and people saying that it's shown that this can work outside of the US. If that's the one takeaway we'd love Bethesda to see, is that they can take a few more risks. They don't have to always bring in the Brotherhood of Steel. It doesn't always have to be the Enclave, because we've seen it. We know what it is. And bearing in mind that we wait 10 years, but spooky ghost just threw a box off my shelf. I do apologize.
It's the ghost of Todd Howard coming to
Todd
get
Howard
you.
is like, how dare you? So I do think that, like, because we have to wait basically a decade for each Fallout game or the like, When we then play it and we're like, oh, it's the Brotherhood of Steel again, it really lets down the community because we're excited for this new content and then we get a rehashed version of something we've already played throughout our lifetimes. I definitely hope Todd or whoever is in charge will look at Fallout London and be like, we can take more risks. We can see different things.
It's what you're saying is very reminiscent of H. Bomber Guy's video essay on Fallout New Vegas and how that game is genius because it revolutionized so many expectations of what a Fallout game could be. And modding, by and large, shows all the things that modders want to see from the game that was lacking, that they took upon themselves to put in. Something like Fallout London that has so much praise and so many eyes on it, and is such a gargantuan effort from people who clearly love the series so much and want to share their point of view. Surely these are the ways for game studios to listen to their audience upfront, engage with it physically in the world space if they also play through it and know what to implement into their games in future that people want to see. So I really hope that Fallout London does that because, as you say, Todd has said Fallout will never be set outside the US in a canon title. Why?
Yeah, so I have a comment on that, obviously. Companies that allow their modders to thrive, they're companies a bit like Paradox Games and the like, so the people who have made Hearts of Iron or Crusader Kings, they love their modders. And one of the things that they do, because they know it makes their games last so long, is that they are actually in correspondence with the modders. There has been times when they've updated a patch and it's broken one of the largest mods. And they have reached out to the modder and said, how can we help you fix this? Because we know it's a staple of the community.
That's awesome.
Like, a lot of people will not play that game unless they have that mod. But they've actually incorporated mods by literally just asking, be like, we know the community likes this, we didn't do it. Can we patch this in or can we do our own version? And they've had that correspondence. Fall Guys are known for it. They mention their community and they work with their community. And I think that's the correct way to go about it.
We went on a massive tangent. That was only my first question on what a mod is. So,
well, that's a mod, everyone.
No, it was brilliant. I love chatting these things, and I just love seeing where they end up. So don't apologize for the app. So we've spoken a lot about what mods are and how they shape the titles that they're in, and we've touched on UGC as a concept, but how do you think mods are different, or I suppose similar to more traditional forms of UGC in gaming? As you say, Fall Guys, for instance, you're given the tools to build a fun, quirky little dungeon to run through and get to the end, but you can't, overhaul the world in the same way that you can with a mod. So what do you think?
I think it's a way to give your community a outreach where they can be creative. In the current world that we live in, a lot of people use games as a form of escapism. And as much as people might enjoy the linear sort of games, maybe like your Call of Duties or the like, where you will start off at a level, you have to work your way to the end. Maybe some people really enjoy that. But some people really enjoy the creative aspect. It's why you'll see levels being created in Little Big Planet that are like really fun to go through. You have it with Minecraft where you can create great big like houses and things like this, where it almost becomes almost like an art piece. It transcends games. And I feel like a lot of people will use that as a way to really feel creative and just escape from the current world that we're in. And I think that harbors a community of creators. And I think that's a really positive thing, because a lot of people might not have access to go out and buy an easel and paint and stuff like that. But they can pick up Little Big Planet. They can pick up Fall Guys and create a little level. And then other people can see it. Because you might not have the opportunity to, paint something on your wall and then invite all your friends around to look at it. But you can get them all in game to play. And I feel like that harbors a very positive community. And I think that's one of the best parts of modding and just user-generated content.
Just thinking about Minecraft, we've had people building Bloodborne 1-to-1 in Minecraft. How long until we get Fallout London in Minecraft?
Well, we actually already have.
What?
Yeah, we used to have a guy on our PR team who loved Minecraft. Every time our 3D artist would create a car, he'd be like, "Can I have the model? Can I have the model?" and then Weird Sunny Seer in Minecraft. So he's out there somewhere, Dr. Wasabi. Like, it was awesome to see what he would do, and he would do like a little tutorial for the bits he used to create it, and it was a really cool thing to see.
That's so sick.
That's what I mean. Like, it's a community of passionate people that like creating, and it's, you know, we have created our art. He's looked at it and then created his own form of art, and that's a really positive connection in the community, and that's why I love those sort of games that allow that.
You say you've been doing mods for years and years, 20 years ago or whatever it was.
Yes.
So long before Fallout London was even an idea, what was it that drew you into modding? Like, what made you want to create?
So I've been asked this question from outlets before, and every time I say, oh, I started modding this game, I then remember a game that I played before that, and I modded that. I think maybe it started, if I'm honest, and this is showing my age, maybe Sims 1.
Wow.
Because,
all right, Grandpa.
because I remember the concept of a mod back then, it seemed very shady. You would have like these like Mod the Sims from back in the day.
Oh
so
God.
it was this really shady looking website, because obviously websites all look shady back in the day. And you were downloading this new content from this random website. You're like, oh, this is so naughty. What am I doing? And then you put it in and it would be like a flower pot.
Yeah.
But you're there thinking you're like hacker man. You're like, yeah, look what I've got. And I think that probably planted the seed of like, oh, I can edit any game however I want and be creative in my game and make it and tailor make it for how I want. And that is definitely what makes games have their longevity. And that is in a game that typically, at that time, it wasn't really promoting modding. They then went on to start promoting modding, and now they're relatively known for it. I think that is one of the great things of games that have it innately built in. Because there are people that will wake up and be like, you know what, I want some nostalgia here. I'll go play one of like the first Little Big Planets or something like that, and then create a level. And I think that's great, because the gate of entry is built in. And I really like that. So, yeah.
So, kids, if you want to be a cool video game maker, download random files off the internet. Yeah, my studio is going to love how much we're chatting Little Big Planet, because Johnny, who's one of our founders, basically single-handedly programmed Little Big Planet's create
amazing
mode. So, yeah, he's an absolute legend.
I remember when that first came out. Again, I'm really showing my age. It wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't that long. You're not that old.
That in itself was like, whoa. Because I'm pretty sure when it came out, and correct me if I'm wrong, was it a PlayStation exclusive when it came out? If not, it was definitely on there, and it was like one of the big first things of its time, where it was like, oh wow, I don't have to just play these regurgitated games. This allows me to do so much creativity with it. And I remember being at university when that came out, and I was like, okay, you know, some of the grades aren't going so well. How do I escape? And I was like, I'm gonna build a level. And yeah, it's great. Maybe that's what led off into this, because yeah, I definitely got disenchanted with the linear gameplays, and it was like having a chance to be creative, an outlet that I needed at that time, and that games like that were what was on offer. So yeah, they hold a special place in my heart, I guess. That's what I like, is that we already have people making mods for Fallout London. There was like day one mods for Fallout London when we dropped. They changed Churchill into a fox.
And astonishingly, none of them were sexy female
I know.
overalls. We had to wait a whole 2 days for that. Revolutionary.
Yeah, and one of the first mods was someone changing Churchill, which is our bulldog, into a fox. And then I think it was 2 days later, we got the body slide mods for the Thames folk. So whoever had money on them being first was wrong for once. But you know what? That was something that, and I remember we spoke about this during development, that we were like, how quickly are people going to make it? And it becomes funny, because we know that is what a certain sect of the internet really enjoy. And they're going to make it, whether you like it or not. It's going to be made. And I think that's something that a lot of communities, that a lot of industries maybe don't realize, that there is this sector of the community. They are going to create these things that you don't want your game to be like. And I feel like if you try and suppress it, it will get worse. But also just, you know, you don't have to acknowledge all these sexy mobs that come out, but just be like, okay, that's interesting. Have a laugh with it. Because I feel like a lot of these big corporations are becoming far too corporate. They're just like, no, you will play the game how we want, and you will enjoy it how we want. And I feel that
no sexy fish people.
Yeah, I feel you don't have to have that in all of everyone's games. I feel it definitely just cuts off a level of longevity because the community is like, well, I can't play how I want to play, and I definitely feel that it just forces the corporation's idea of their game onto a player, and if the player doesn't gel with that, they're probably just not going to play. So if they need to have sexy fish people, then let them mod it. Let them go on. Yeah. Please don't quote me on that. No headlines. That was not, no, I said a quip. No.
I had a question that was, how much does modding and UGC support the longevity of games? But I think we've answered that 17 times over.
Yeah.
God, I love a yapper. We have also touched on this a little, but I think it's really important just to unpack it a little more. But what can be said, for all the community and especially identity that forms around games with creation elements?
So I think that's what games that acknowledge the modding scene and actually promote it a bit more. So things like Fall Guys especially, where they definitely have that as a part of the gaming element, it creates a really nice and welcoming community of people that are creative, like I said. And I think it creates this safe place that you can go and create amongst other people. You can rate each other's work, and you're like, oh, wow, I've done this, I've done that, and it's great. Bethesda tries. I don't think they've quite hit the nail on the head yet, because what sometimes happens in the modding scene, and we definitely experience this, is that you end up having the Fallout modding scene tends to develop cliques, and it can be quite toxic between them. And I feel that maybe Bethesda need to work more with their community managers. But there is definitely I'm not going to work with this other team because they found this out, or I'm jealous of that. And now I know that's not ultimately down to Bethesda, but if you make it more welcoming on their own platform, that will allow people to be creative and nice to each other. If you might notice that we developed most of Fallout London through Discord. That's a third-party thing. That took us away from Bethesda. Now the Bethesda community manager has to use Discord to speak to us. We then have our own section. Then the other teams have their section. Skyrim has their own section. We don't have to acknowledge each other because we then end up in our own echo chamber. Whereas you compare that to games that have it built in, even things like The Sims, which don't have it innately built in. I mean, they might do now. I haven't played The Sims in a while. But they have places where people can meet and talk about it. And they have harbored a great community when they've done this. And I feel that that's when it's done correctly. And that's when I think that identities form. Amongst them, you'll have people that are known throughout the modding scene. And it just becomes really nice and friendly. Whereas I think that if you do it wrong, it can backfire. So yeah, it's definitely a swings and roundabouts. But yeah, if you have it innately in the game, I think it can be good. Yeah.
To have built something as astronomical as Fallout London, you're clearly pretty adept at the creation kit, which is Bethesda's built-in engine mod maker plug-in thing. I don't know how, I've never thought about how to describe the CK before, but you're clearly pretty good at it. So what tools or capabilities would you most look for from, say, a brand new UGC game where creation mode is completely built into the engine?
That was a yappy answer followed by a yappy question.
I'm just meeting you halfway, babe.
It needs to have a level of, I guess, readmes or just like how to use it. That's one thing that I feel I remember Little Big Planet did well back in the day. It basically held your hand on how to create things. I feel that any of these systems need to have a level of documentation that goes with it, either built in that pops open on screen that says you can do this, this, and this, or just something where you can read it on their forums and the like. That's one thing that we struggled with. We did learn the hard way is a steep learning curve because a lot of the documentation for at least the creation engine isn't out there. And when it was out there, for some reason they updated it. Mm-hmm. And then it's been down for a year and a half where no one can read it.
Great.
And everyone was like, just revert it. And we were told no. And it was like, okay, I guess we just won't read it anymore. And this was 9 years at this point after it had been up. They just decided to break it and then didn't fix it. So yeah, please don't do that to your communities. For anyone that's in the industry that's listening, just give them documentation, because then they can actually work on your game. Don't take that away from them, because then they can't. So yeah, I think that's one of the most important things.
Yeah, you just need those 4-hour-long Dark Fox YouTube videos on exactly how to do whatever.
Skyrim was his jam, I believe, is his biggest one. Dark Fox 127 got me through Skyrim modding and Seddon 4494. Shouts out to them, because they don't get that many views, because it is a very niche thing. But we thank them in Fallout London, because we wouldn't have done it without them. And that's what I mean by you build these identities, because we've had people say, how do we get involved? We will say, go look at Dark Fox, go look at Seddon, because they are people that are renowned in the modding scene as people who know everything. They know far more than I will ever know. And yet they're small scale because of the niche. But you know, that's what I love. Like, we can message them, they're humans, they message back. And that's what I love about the community. That's the nice side of it, yeah.
Hell yeah. So what was your favourite moment from working on Fallout London?
Now, I'll have to explain this slightly, so I do apologise. It's what we like to call
the ultimate yap.
A goink sesh.
Oh.
Now, a goink sesh stems from a meme of a monkey that's pushing a button on the screen saying goink. Because typically, we would be struggling throughout the day to solve something, and it would normally be, and I don't know why, but it would normally be about like 1 a.m, where we should have all gone to bed. Then we will start doing something, like our motors will kick in and we'll start trying to sort or fix something. For example, the entire animated train system in Fallout London, that probably started at 1 a.m. and we just goinked like that monkey on the screen, just pushing buttons until it worked. And I think Sunny finally finished the skeleton off that at something like 1 p.m. the next day. That was it.
My God.
It's like,
Sunny,
we're
go to
start
bed.
At 1. Yeah, we're going to start at 1, then like 12 hours later, we're sitting there just like, cool, we got it. I'm going to sleep now. And it would always be late. They were my favorite moments, because that's when the creative juices were flowing. We were all sitting there, and it like time become irrelevant. And that was my favorite part of developing, is when you're sitting there with a bunch of other nerds and you're just sitting there with like your coffee, in my case, Monster in their case, just drinking these energy drinks to just solve this issue. And then when you get it, you're like, and done. Time to sleep. I love those. I will always remember those moments.
Wow. A goink sesh. I'm going to have to find that photo and use that as the cover art. Not even just part of the article, just right on the front. So it's so funny. The BBC Newsbeat video literally came out today, where the title was, "What's next for Team Folon?" So I'm so sorry that you have to repeat it for me, but what is next for you and for Team Folon?
The best part of all of this was building up a huge community that told us what they want, what they expect, and what they enjoy. Now we are going to take all of that knowledge and move it into our own indie game studio. Now, we have ideas behind the scenes. Obviously, we can't go into them and what we are planning to do moving forward, but we definitely are looking at probably creating our own game. In what capacity, we're not sure yet. But that has only been made possible by people who have donated to the team. Because at the end of the day, we've done all of the Fallout London work for free, and it has to be free. And it's actually cost us money, because that's something that people don't realize, is that modding costs actual money. Not just that, it also costs time.
So much time.
I'm not getting any younger. And when you think of how much money, if I had worked a proper job and saved, how much money I would have had in comparison.
In 5 years, astronomical difference.
And so that has allowed us a springboard to create something which we otherwise wouldn't have. And I feel like it's up to us to capitalize on that. So probably the indie dev route, and if not, then maybe something more social media based. But we will see. I would love to create another game that has our own IP to it, where we can, just fully create something. Because as much as we love Bethesda and we love Fallout, there are times when we didn't necessarily want to adhere to their lore or IP, but we had to make it make sense. So by creating our own, we can make our own IP. So that is something that we're looking forward to. And I know Callum is, especially, who's the head writer. He can write
exactly what he
unimpeded,
wants. Yeah, you can all do everything that you want, and I think that is such an exciting possibility for all of you. So, hell yeah, you're doing the modern storyteller route.
But that's the thing as well, is all the people we've worked with, like we know the people we want to work with again as well. And it'd be great to actually be able to say like, hey, do you want to be involved? We can actually pay you at this point, rather than just be like, please, can we do some more lines?
Please,
as people are like stressed out from their job.
I need another fish lady.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'm sure we'll come knocking. Why wouldn't we? You're a very talented voice actress.
Oh, stop it. No.
Stop.
Say it louder for the people in the back. No. Well, that was everything that I had lined up for us. Thank you so much. This was such a brilliant chat.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. I do enjoy just talking to people. I feel like that is actually probably the best way to get across what development's actually like. Because I feel like when you are given very rigid questions by people realize that you sort of lose your humanity somewhat. You feel a bit more corporate. When I think at every developer's heart, especially on games, we're human. We like talking about our passion. We like saying about what we've enjoyed developing. And I love these chats far more than the what's in the game. When did you start? Where did you do this? Because it's like...
Take that, Screen Rant.
I'm not going to say anything from these things. But I will say that one of the top weapons in Fallout London is not the fat man at the robotics disposal
It's the fat
site.
woman. We're a woke mod now.
Oh, God, don't.